The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And we're back for another week of the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. I'm Nick, and with me as always is TJ, who I might be hammered this week. I don't know.
Nice. But I was the guy with you. Apparently not. Apparently all you need is yourself. You bastard.
No, I just had a sip, just a taste, just to see how it feels. But
cheers, sir.
Cheers, governor. I'm still drinking. Like I'm still on vacation.
That's nice up until the rum is gone.
Well, the rum is never gone. I'm Puerto Rican. We're back for another week, and this week was a wild one as far as hockey is concerned, as we all know. That a guy made his debut today, and all I have to say is
waiting.
That's got to be Patrick Kane making his Broadway debut with the New York Rangers tonight against the Ottawa Senators. Already got a point. Game just started. Already got a point.
Beautiful.
And I believe he caught the assist on the Panarin goal. I actually missed it.
It was a Kreider goal, wasn't it?
I honestly, I'm not going to lie. I missed it. I thought the game started at 7:30.
So did I. I threw it on at 7:20, but I checked the stat sheet and it said that it was a Kreider goal.
Oh, I could have sworn it was. I didn't even think they were on the same line. Now that I think,
no, it wasn't Kane. It was Kreider. Kreider, I think, from Mika.
Really?
Unless the New York Rangers stat line is wrong.
Oh, Fox and Mika.
Yeah,
I could have sworn they said that it was. Whatever. I turned it on and somebody scored, and I was like, "Oh, I missed it, son of a bitch." But Rangers are up right now.
And Skippy.
5-minute game misconduct for roughing for Watson for a high hit up top on Tyler Mott. Welcome back, Mott. And rightfully assessed.
That was see, you know what? It's the right call. Game misconduct. I mean, he lambasted him with his elbow, and people are going to be like, oh, that's what Trouba does. Trouba never leads with his elbow. He always leads with the shoulder. He also hits people in the chest with his shoulder. It just happens that when they collide, it always, he and the other guy come up on each other, and he happens to be taller and a bigger statured guy. So he catches a piece of the dome, but it's usually shoulder to chest. That was a straight elbow to head, like full on.
He launched a little bit.
A little bit, dude. He came up high. Mott was literally had his back to the boards, playing the puck in between his legs, in a pretty much indefensible position. There's no way he can get a situation
down. Too.
Right, his hands are down. His puck's between his legs. His back's against the boards. He can't defend himself. Vulnerable position, and Watson took full advantage. And I really hate game misconducts for one reason only. You can't make people answer the bell for the crap that they pull. And that one right there, I understand that the Rangers aren't very physically imposing anymore. Somebody would have went there and dropped gloves with him, because that's the kind of shit that you got it. Somebody would have. It could have been the most non-fighter on the team. So Kane would have went out there and been like, I'm going to make some fans tonight, baby, and drop the gloves, because you have to make people answer the bell for those kind of hits. That was just brutal, dirty. I hope to see Mott back in the second period, because he went back in the dressing room. I'm sure he's going to go through some, concussion protocol. Dude, you don't like to see hits like that, regardless of, it's just that's the kind of hit that ends somebody's career.
Looking at his face, it looks like somebody already answered the bell against that guy the other day.
I was going to say, I want to know who tuned him up. And I mean, if it was his wife, good for her.
He's black and blue all here. His eye is barely open, and then his nose is cut on top of it. So whoever tuned him up broke his nose too.
Listen, he's a big boy. I'm not going to sit there and say he's a slouch. He's a big boy. He can throw, but
whoever he threw against the other day clearly got the. That's one of those the other guy type situations. I don't think so. Like the way his eye was, his nose. Either he got into a fight in the game or he got into a bar fight after the fact, and they weren't fighting fair. It didn't look pretty, that's for sure.
Somebody forgot to bring home a birthday gift for the missus, and
she beat him in his sleep.
Oh, dude, 100% old school. Love it.
But yeah, the Rangers acquire 2 trades actually this week. They got rid of, Kravtsov for, got a little gas tonight because I had some chili tonight. It was delicious.
I had some chili too, made by my man Nick over there. But I threw a fried, over easy egg on mine, a little cheddar cheese, a little sour cream. It was amazing. And then literally, I texted you telling you that after that I'm going to need a nap, and I went and took a nap like 45 minutes because it was.
I legit fell asleep for about 10 minutes just now. Yeah. I was laying down watching TV, and I was like, am I sleeping? I had one of those moments where I'm conscious, but I'm like on my way out. And I was like, am I sleeping? I'm sleeping. I got a show to do. Get up.
By the way, I mean, not to get off the chili talk, but did you see this Jeremy Roenick commercial that's on right now with Ric Flair? And it's I know you hate Ric Flair, but I almost feel bad for him. It's like they take him out of the fucking crypt to do these commercials. He shot. What?
Who's that, Flair?
Yeah, dude.
Flair does this because he spent all his money on hookers and blow and lawyers for sexually assaulting flight attendants.
Dude, seriously, he is in a rough shape.
Dude, he wrestled last year. Just keep that in mind.
That's insane.
Was that last year? It might have been this year, actually. Might have been this year.
That's insane.
Not good. But all that being said, they trade off Kravtsov. I saw there's something moving behind you.
Yeah, there's a little child running around my house right now. He tried to duck down, so he just looked like he appeared from my chair.
Whose kid is that?
That's mine.
Oh, he looked too short. I was like, no way, that's your kid.
No, he tried to duck down and be sneaking and run past.
That's pretty funny, actually. So Kravtsov gets Vitaly Kravtsov, which when I was a kid and I lived in Sheepshead Bay, his name would have been Vitali. Gets traded.
It is Vitali.
No, listen, in Brooklyn it's Vitali, not Vit. His name is Vitaly, but anyway, Kravtsov traded to Vancouver Canucks by the Rangers on Saturday for forward William Lockwood and a 7th round pick in the 2026 draft. That's one of those things in hockey that's very it's a very hockey thing where you trade picks that you don't even know if the league will exist by then.
It was essentially to free up some money, and it paved the way for Kane.
I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying is only in hockey do they trade draft picks in the 2032 draft.
Yeah, it's
they completely skip next year, and they're like, "No, fuck next year. We're gonna go 6 years from now. You can have our 3rd round pick in 2029." And other teams like, "Sure, bro, it sounds great." Like you don't see that in football. In football, you don't trade draft picks beyond if you're not trading a draft pick this year or next year, then you're not trading a draft pick.
Right.
Like you don't trade a draft pick 3 years from now in football. But I guess there's no minor leagues in football. So that kind of makes sense.
I mean, now there's the USFL. I guess that's the minor leagues.
Yeah, but but I'm talking about there's no
I know what you mean.
Team controlled minor league. As opposed to and in baseball you can't trade draft picks at all, really. But I just think that's so funny where you watch some sort of trade in the NHL and they're like, yeah, I'll give you my 7th round pick in 6 years. And the other team's like, sure, let's do that. Let's talk about this. How can we make that happen? I'm like, you don't even know if that team's going to exist in 7 years.
It's like you gotta yell out to your assistant, like, hey, get me a calendar from 7 years from now. I got to add another draft pick. I don't want to forget.
But it's so fun. I'm saying in football, they trade draft picks and it's this year or next year.
Correct.
If you're going to do it the 3rd year, it's because I gave you my 1st round pick for the next 3 years. You don't sit there and go, you can have my 7th rounder in 4 years. Ha! But they traded Kraft off. Honestly, I don't see it as a huge loss. I get he was a first-round pick, but at the same time, the kid needed to go down to the AHL, needed to earn his freaking bones. He didn't want to do it. And to me, you're trying to break into this league. I get it. You're a big deal in Russia. This ain't fucking Russia. So if you don't want to go down to the minors and earn your fucking stripes, then don't be here, bro. Like, there's other players that are far better than you that went down to the minors.
He didn't. I mean, listen, drafted 9th overall, high expectations, but he started out with a bad head and kind of shit on the Rangers and wanted out, and then all of a sudden he wanted to be part of the team, and we put him on a 1-year contract and gave another shot, and he didn't fit in anywhere. Listen, he didn't make any lines anywhere. It just didn't work out. There was really no space for him, and I'm not saying that's his fault, but at the same time, you can't pull the same bullshit halfway through the year like, I don't want to be a part of this team anymore. I want out. You're an idiot. You want out of literally the most profitable team in the NHL because you don't want to wait your turn to get in somewhere, because guess what? You are not good enough to bump somebody else out of their spot. You're not. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's a little sad. He definitely has talent, and you hate to see young players go, but that's the second time you said you didn't want to be here. Get out. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. Get out. Goodbye.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Listen, I'm a firm believer, and you know what? I'm a Jets fan, and the first thing I said when we drafted Sauce Gardner, he asked DJ Reed for his number because DJ Reed was originally number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, everybody's like, oh, he should give it to him. No. Why? He's a rookie.
Right.
Like, to me, it was like, yo, make him earn it.
Yeah.
You don't get nothing handed to you in any league. Unfortunately, DJ Reed handed it to him, and Sauce Gardner had a phenomenal season. Like, if this year he was like, can I have number 1? I'd tell DJ Reed, hand over the fucking number, pal. It'd be that simple. But I'm a firm believer, like, just because you showed up here, you're a number 1 pick, you're a high draft pick, you doesn't guarantee you anything. It guarantees you a look. That's it. And they're required to give you a look because they wasted a high draft pick on you. And once you get that look and you're not meeting the grade, you're not cutting the mustard, so to speak. You need to take a hard look at yourself inward and say, all right, well, what do I got to do? And if they say you got to go down to the minors, then go down to the fucking minors. Hold your head up, go down to the minors, get your work in, come back and dominate. And then when you get the second look, you're like, all right, there's a reason you're not sending me back down. Here's the reason why you're not sending me back down. And he didn't want to do it. He was too good for the minors. So he went and played in Russia instead. Against obvious inferior fucking talent, because he still came back and it wasn't much to sneeze at. You know what I mean?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't think he was anything special. I don't think he really showed you anything. Let's put it this way. He didn't show me that we're going to miss him if we got rid of him. If we would have gave him away for a bag of pucks, it wouldn't have bothered me one bit.
We might have missed him in 5 years.
I mean, well, time will tell, but right out the gate, being a rookie and having that kind of mentality, goodbye. Get the hell out. Nobody here owes you anything. You owe us. You owe the fans. You owe the Rangers organization because they put you on the ice.
Yeah.
Your debt wasn't paid, and you're bitching about it. Get out.
You didn't do them any favors by getting drafted.
Yeah, I know.
But moving forward, the Rangers traded for Patrick Kane, a.k.a. Showtime, from the Chicago Blackhawks. Original 6 trade, which is kind of weird, but, generally that doesn't happen too often, but it happens.
I was going to say, kudos to Chicago. And, I mean, what did he win? 3 cups over there. And they essentially gave him exactly what he wanted. He wanted to go out and go to a team that is in the playoffs and hunting for a cup. And they essentially they probably could have got a bigger return if he went somewhere else. And I know he had a no trade and he had to essentially label out which teams he wanted to go to. But they did the right thing by him. He was a superstar there. I mean, he paid his debt to that team tenfold. Okay, he earned every bit of his contract being there. The Chicago Blackhawks definitely sold out to get those cups because they took on a lot of heat and kind of screwed up their organization, since those cups. But he did exactly what he was supposed to do there. And every Chicago fan is proud of Patrick Kane and happy as hell that he was on the team. So kudos to them for letting him go do what he needed to do to, continue on his career and have a good rest of this season and maybe chase down a cup. So
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, the way I see it is, well, a couple things. One, Kane's not as old as it seems. And when you look at some guys that are in the league for a very long time, Kane's 34. And while that's no spring chicken, we're not talking 28 here. All right. When you watch guys like Ronick go up until they're like damn 40, I'm sure somewhere in the world, Jaromir Jagr's playing hockey. And he's like,
no, he's still playing.
There's somewhere in the world, Jaromir Jagr's playing hockey and Julio Franco's playing baseball. All right. So, he's 34. Does he have 2 more years left in him? He might. He could play till he's 38, I think.
Listen, I'm not saying he's done.
He's good.
I'm not saying he's done. And when this whole Patrick Kane thing first started, it started about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And my beef was Ranger fans were actually sitting there saying, yeah, get rid of Lafreniere. Give them Lafreniere. Give him somebody from the kid line. It's fine. Give us Patrick Kane. It's like, are you out of your mind? He is on the 15th hole right now. And I'm not saying he can't birdie a couple, on the close. Guess what? You're not trading away somebody that has 15 years of possible sick, insane hockey for somebody that has a year or 2 left in them. It just didn't make sense. And that's where the vitriol came for this whole trade. For what the Rangers did and how they maneuvered and how Drury was able to come up with this Kane deal and Chicago for allowing Kane to go there for what they did. Kudos to everybody involved. And I'm happy to have Patrick Kane, but I wasn't giving up anybody from the kid line, even if we had him at the start of the season. Not worth it.
Golf clap for Chris Drury.
Oh, yeah. Again, Chris Drury didn't really pay back the organization for the move that we made to get him, but now that he's in the front office, he's paying us back tenfold, I think.
So let's talk about that trade, a 3-team trade involving Arizona. It was a little complicated, and I when they do these 3-team trades, they always get a little confusing. So the Blackhawks got a conditional 2nd-round pick in the 2023 NHL draft, and a 4th-round pick in the 2025 draft, and defenseman Andy Walensky. That's what they got. Who was playing for Hartford, right? And then the Rangers also sent the Coyotes and a conditional 3rd-round pick in the 2025 draft for helping to broker the deal because they took on salary cap.
Right.
Which is fucking bizarre.
Yeah, they I don't know if it says it there, but I think they ate like $300,000 with the cap or something like that for us.
I don't understand how you just trade money across the cap like that. It's bizarre. You can't do that in other sports.
Dude, it's because, and I'm not saying while I would love it to be baseball and go for broke and everybody be the Yankees, and in our situation, we'd be able to be the Yankees of the NHL because we have the most money. I understand the reason and the need for a cap. The problem is they don't raise the cap enough in line with some of these contracts. And once you put somebody on the roster that's making $8 million a year, it's like, wow, okay, that's a big chunk. And then all of a sudden you have a goalie like Igor Shesterkin. It's like, okay, well, he's going to get a monster contract. Oh, look, Adam Fox. Holy shit, we're going to have to pay him. Oh, look, Panarin. Yep, we wanted him, brought him in. It adds up too quickly. And it's not like you could sit there and say the Rangers are at the end of their salary cap. And while they're very good, I wouldn't say they're stacked. I wouldn't say they have a super team. I wouldn't say they're like, oh man, they got every penny out of it. But it's still not insane.
But that's the problem with that, though, is that the Rangers are the exception, whereas the majority of teams don't make that much money. That's the problem. Ultimately, the salary cap doesn't raise that much is because gross earnings across the league are not where they need to be. And that's what it comes down to. The trade that I thought was weird is so the details of that trade kind of go. The 2nd-round pick that Chicago gets a 1st-round selection in either 24 or 25 if the Rangers reach the Eastern Conference Final this season. It's a top 10 protected in 2024. That's so weird. How is it 2024 or 2025? Like, I swear, they just kind of throw numbers out there and hope it sticks to the wall. I don't know how they do these trades. It's bizarre.
You probably have to employ a team of people just to write this shit down. I mean, like, not do the analytical part of it or the numbers crunching. Like, just like, hey, get those 4 people in here to start writing this shit down because we're going all over the place. And I don't even remember what we did last year So let's make sure we're not giving shit away that we already gave away.
Because you're sitting there and you're sitting there, and I don't know which way is up. So, that being said, Showtime makes his debut tonight on Broadway, and the Rangers are up 1-0 after the first period. In other hockey news, Jonathan Quick's traded from the LA Kings, a team who, I mean, that's his franchise. That's his team. Gets traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, from what I understand, Jonathan Quick was not happy about that trade. The Columbus Blue Jackets turn around, trade him over to the Vegas Knights. And now he's a goalie over there at the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So what do you think about that?
The tweet was funny. I don't understand. I don't. Again, dude, you could be pissed as a player. I don't understand the throwing a tantrum and getting your way and then moving on out and kind of like, I mean, I'll retire or I'm not happy here or I didn't want to be here. Too fucking bad. That's the business. You're getting paid to play hockey. Too bad. Nobody feels bad for you.
I don't.
Like, I'll never understand that.
I'm sorry, but this is so friggin' funny because if you look at how bad that Photoshop is, you can see the player that they Photoshopped out of it behind him.
Yep. So what makes that great too is you can see the Flyers fan, the Flyers player right behind him, just dejected. And if you want to know why, it's because they're a crap organization and they are another team that has John Tortorella to blame.
But look at this. They basically this is definitely this is Jonathan Quick celebrating with the LA Kings.
Yeah.
All they did was they just put a Columbus Blue Jackets player's sweater over him.
Right.
You can still see the freaking Kings stuff. Like, look at his gloves. Those are not goalie gloves.
No, not at all. But it doesn't matter. They made their point. You know, they threw it against the wall. It stuck. I love it.
It legitimately says champions on his hat. Oh my God. The comments are even better. I don't know. Can you see the comments? It says,
no, I can't read that.
It says, Blue Jackets legend, Jonathan Quick. Then they tagged him and wrote, take a bow. Somebody said, are you buying the jersey? Oh my goodness. Undefeated as a Blue Jacket. Retire his number. He never lost a game for you guys. That's good stuff. But Jonathan Quick's over there with the Vegas Knights. And we'll see where that lands them this season. Obviously, they're in it. Obviously, they're in it. They're I want to say they're number one in the West. So they're in it. You know, well, we'll see. We'll see where they end up. I think they're 1 game up. They're 1 point up on whoever's number 2 in the West. Obviously, the top 10's stacked with the guys in the East. The East is just redonkulous this year, but which sucks for the Rangers. But you know, right now the way the standings are, you got I guess there's 4 teams in the West and there's 6 teams in the East, but those 4 teams in the West are all sitting behind teams in the East.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm sorry. Did you hear something?
Yeah, that was my phone. It clicked onto an ad right away.
Oh,
I was trying to look up. Apparently, so I a little too quick while I'm doing this, but apparently, obviously, the Rangers requested an emergency call up, and they were denied by the league. And apparently, Boston asked for something similar to pull up some money, and they were approved. So, I didn't get the details. I just saw some quality bitching from a good Ranger fan on Twitter, like, "Oh yeah, because that's not a fix, because the NHL is not pulling for Boston and screwing the Rangers."
Yeah. So the Rangers asked for that because what? Because Keandre's out, and let's talk about that for a second. While we're on the subject of Keandre being out, he gets suspended for 3 games. Now, I'll be honest, I don't have a problem with that.
It's fine. It is. It's the problem, and I'm not saying that. And I was one of the first people when you texted me, because I was even watching the game. When you texted me and told me that, yo, Miller just like spit in somebody's face, and I was like, yo, dude, you can't be doing that. That's disrespectful. You should get 3 games at least. That's uncalled for. When I watched the video it made more sense with, like, you could just tell he just zoned out at the end of the play. Whistles blew. He's just spitting dejected after the play, tired, whatever. Doesn't even see Doughty skating into him because it looked like he just zoned out. He wasn't even there. Doesn't make it right. And the fact that he went to Doughty and apologized for him and hammered home the fact that, like, totally uncalled for, but I didn't mean to do it. And it seemed that Doughty accepted his apology and was very understanding in the situation. But still got to serve a penalty, suspension for it. It is what it is. I'm fine with it. No big deal. But with what we had to do and putting Snyder back down, we needed that emergency call up.
Yeah.
So,
but as far as Keandre is concerned, I just immediately I gave him the benefit of the doubt just because it's so out of character. Like, we're talking a guy who never gets in trouble. He doesn't start fights. He barely gets penalties. He gets a penalty here, and it's usually an accident. It's not blatant, and it's not dirty. It's usually he got caught on a hook, maybe a slash by accident. You know, it's not violent. It's just like, oh man, I'm just trying to get a little poke check in, you know, and I get a slash, whatever. The guy dropped his stick, I get kicked with a slash. So I just thought it was so out of character for Keandre Miller to get banged with a spitting. And of course, you've got those crazy fans that are just like, how do you accidentally spit on somebody? I mean, I watched a video as a kid of Steve Lyons pulling his pants down at first base. Sometimes you're in the moment and you forget where you are.
Oh, yeah.
And the world melts away behind you. And you look in Miller's face, he's not angry. He's not really looking like he's listening to anything. Somebody said that they watched a lot of video on him, and they said that he's a habitual spitter. Like, when you watch him play, he spits all the time.
Yeah, I can see that.
It could be a nervous tick that, like, all right, I'm huffing and puffing, and I spit when I hear the whistle. You know what do they call it? Pavlov's dog. If every time you hear the whistle, you spit, it becomes a thing where your mouth waters when you hear a whistle. And in that situation, the guy that never gets contact, never gets into like a little scrum at the end of a period or at the end of a shift or a stoppage, you know, he's sitting there, you know, kind of in the zone, like he spits. And honestly, the only thing I could say that I would want to see different from what happened would be to go over, you know, after he's apologized to Doughty. If he would have pulled the cameras over to himself and said, guys, I just want to apologize to everybody out front. Like, that was stupid. It was an accident. I already walked over to Doughty and apologized. It seemed like he accepted my apology. And honestly, what I really would have wanted was, if it was me and I was Keandre Miller and I had done something like that, I would have waited for the guy after the period by his locker. I would have just stood there the whole time like this. And I would have just been like, dude, I am so sorry. I can't tell you how sorry I am. I apologize from the bottom of my heart. If you want, spit right back in my face. I apologize. You know, like, that's, and you know what? For all I know, that's what he did. I don't know.
Right.
But
listen, I'm sure it was sincere, and I'm sure Doughty knew, right? I mean, again, as little time as Keandre's been in the league, it speaks for itself what kind of player he is, and these guys all know each other. And even when people get into fights, you forget, like, they're on. You know, how many times you get into a fight with somebody, they give you a little pat on the back. You're like, oh, good brawl. Because it is what it is. It's your job. It's your game. That's it.
As long as you don't make it personal.
Of course. But everybody knows each other's, you know, mentality out there and how they carry themselves. So
absolutely. But moving on from the Keandre Miller situation, I've been talking about this all week. Unless you have anything more to add about hockey.
Dude, I want the cup.
So, by the way, I saw Ryan Reeves get into a fight and smack around I can't remember who he got into a fight with. Smacked around somebody on the Islanders yesterday. That was pretty dope.
Nice.
Well, Revo will always have a place in my heart, always.
Love him.
But I've been talking about this all week. And what I don't think people understand about it is not, you know, everybody has this mindset of like, when people want to change things and you don't want it changed, you're an old fogey, you know, boomer this and you're old this and old school that, and you don't understand the new stuff and you don't understand the kids. First of all, to be honest with you, I don't want to understand kids today. They're fucking stupid. They really are. Like, they were eating Tide Pods at one point. I don't know what the fuck that was about. Condoms up their nose. Like, do I really need to like understand kids? I don't know.
Really.
Like, I don't know if I've ever read the side of a condom and I don't think I've ever read it to the side where I was like reading and it said like keep out of reach of children, may cause choking. But apparently these fuckers needed to have that shit put on the side. Like, you know how like you look at a label of something and it says don't eat this, and you're like, why would anybody eat this? Gen Z, that's why. Like, those kids are fucking retarded.
I mean, if we're gonna call it what it is, and I mean, I'm sure this is like cancel culture territory, and it'll get me jammed up for saying, but Gen Z and their labels are erroneous. They totally erroneous. I'm not sure if you caught it, and it's causing uproar on Twitter, and it's actually pretty funny. For to honor women, right? Because I guess March is Women's Month or something like that, or one of the days coming up is like International Women's Day or something like that. Hershey, the candy company, the chocolate company, decided to put a whole bunch of transgender women on their candy bar wrappers and say support her, and this is for women's rights and stuff like that. And like women are like, what? Why? What are you doing? But there you go.
When the Time Woman of the Year was Caitlyn Jenner.
So Gen Z is responsible for labels meaning absolutely nothing.
But what I was getting into was Major League Baseball has implemented the pitch clock, and it's been about a week that we've had it. And me personally, I'm against the pitch clock, and I'll get into my
100%
it in a bit. But we saw on, I believe it was Saturday. Obviously, it's spring training, and obviously games end in a tie. That's a big hit. Wow. Games end in a tie in spring training at times, because again, this is just to get in work. It's not necessarily about wins and losses. It's kind of like preseason in football, right? Like, you'll get that team that goes undefeated in the preseason and they don't win a regular season game. Right. Lions. So we've been watching the pitch clock, and it's been shaving roughly in spring training, mind you, about 30 minutes off games. That's what we're looking at. Wow, Igor putting in work. We're looking at 20 to 30 minutes being shaved off of a game. And the truth of the matter is it's spring training. And from what I've noticed, I've been watching these games, right? At least Yankee games I've been watching. The first 3 innings still take about an hour to play. After the 4th or 5th inning, all of a sudden, batters start swinging at the first pitch more often.
That's a big hit.
Yeah, it's a big hit. Batters start swinging at the first pitch more often.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, base runners get real freaking froggy, and they just start doing stupid shit. Like, I've seen players advance on a ball hit in front of TJ. You're on second base. Somebody hits the ball to the shortstop. What do? Stand
there.
Do you run to third base?
No.
You might want to explain that to some of these minor leaguers that are playing in these spring training games.
At the most, you want to try. Yeah, at the most, if you try to coax them into maybe throwing it down to second base, but that's about it. Try to distract them from throwing it to first for a second. But essentially, you're not going anywhere. And in the major leagues, you will get gunned out.
Oh, it happened. I saw a double play at I want to say it was at third and at what happened there? It was a double play at third and home or third and first or something like that. And then today I see another one where the runner advances to go to hit and run. And I guess because Moneyball stopped hit and runs from happening for so long, they don't know how to do it anymore. Anthony Volpe takes off from first base, touches second base. The ball is caught by the center fielder. And for some reason, so Anthony Volpe goes to go, obviously. So TJ, you're on first base. You go to steal second. You pass second base. The ball's caught on the fly. What do you need to do in order to go back to first base?
Touch second on your way back to first.
Yeah, he fucked that. He doesn't touch second base, and he keeps going back to first. But it doesn't matter because Florial decided to tag up on third. He gets thrown out at the plate. And I'm sitting there going it's got to be Manfred sitting there going, all right, guys, this game's got to end by 3:30. Start doing stupid shit.
They just like what, like they hold up a sign in the outfield that only the players can see, and they start the Benny Hill music in their head.
Pretty much. The best shit I've ever seen. It really, really is. A lot of double plays. But what I am seeing that they did do, listen, I'm not completely against change. I don't like the pitch clock for a very simple reason. They didn't do that to attract more fans. All right. Nope. If you don't like baseball at 3 hours, you don't like baseball at 2 hours and 45 minutes, you don't like baseball at 2.5 hours. All right. Just like I don't like soccer. The only way they could make soccer interest me would be if they turned it into hockey. Like if you made soccer into hockey, I'd watch it. But then it's not soccer anymore. The reason that they implemented the pitch clock, and I need everybody that thinks that the pitch clock was done to attract younger fans. Younger fans don't like baseball for a couple of reasons. One, 3 true outcomes has killed baseball, right? You got rid of stealing bases. You got rid of hit and runs. You got rid of hitting the ball the other way. You got rid of batting. Batting average literally tells you how often the guy gets on base because of a base hit. Base hits are exciting. Walks are not.
Nope.
Walks are not exciting. They aren't. I don't give a fuck what anybody. Oh, but walks help you win. Winning is not the point of sports. The point of sports is entertainment. If I am not entertained, then you have failed as a sport.
The only person you want to see start the game at a leadoff walk is the guy in the number 1 spot, because you're generating a base runner, and hopefully the guy 2-hole or 3-hole is bringing him around with hits.
Well, not only that. Hopefully the guy that's lead off is fast and he steals second. But Moneyball got rid of stealing bases. It got rid of hit and run. It got rid of bunting. It got rid of all of that stuff. And I'm not saying I'm an advocate for small ball. I'm not sitting here saying lay one down. I hate bunts. I'm going to be honest with you. Can't stand a bunt. Sacrifice bunt is retarded. But stealing bases is exciting. And I think it's ironic that the most prolific base stealer in the history of Major League Baseball played for the organization that one day decided stealing bases was wrong.
Legitimately, though, and I know I understand that bunting is not exciting, but how long did we play men's league? And I am not the quickest guy in the world. I mean, I had a little bit of speed when I was younger, but how many times did I lay down a bunt that was supposed to be to move the runner, you and whoever else was in front of you over to second and third from first and second, and the next thing you know, it's bases loaded, because in men's league, people got away from dealing with bunts their entire baseball career through high school. And in men's league, they can't fundamentally get the ball to first base. They don't know what to do. We've scored on bunts.
I in high school, I had a kid that led off the game, and every game he'd lead off with a bunt single, because it's the first pitch of the game. Everybody's like, he won't bunt. And he was just a prolific bunt. The kid could fucking bunt. Anthony Piccirillo, you could fucking bunt, kid. Great fucking bunter. All right. And he'd lay one down and be on first base every game. My junior year of high school, every single game, kid would lay one down, and he'd be on first base.
That's fantastic.
But the point being that I'm sorry, excuse me, I got distracted by the Rangers. Kids don't want to watch baseball because there's not enough action. Because 3 true outcome: pop up to second base, ground out to right field. And a strikeout, invariably filled in with a walk. That is not exciting to watch. It really isn't, okay? And then on top of that, baseball's one of the few sports where you cannot tell your opponent to suck your dick. It's not approved. Like in basketball and football, they sit there jawing at each other all fucking game, telling each other, oh, I'll fuck you up, you're a little bitch, but all game. And I'm telling you, kids love it. I watched a whole video the other day of kids shooting threes and saying in your face to their opponent, and they were like 8 years old.
The funny thing about that, though, is, and especially, dude, 95% of this country will see that, do that, right? No issue. Come to New York City, come to Chicago, go to certain parts of LA, go play some pickup basketball and run your mouth to somebody, and you are not going home. You're not going home.
Listen, the part that bothers me, the part that I don't like, is that
no consequences?
Well, that's why they do it in sports.
Right.
If I'm on the court, if I'm at school, these kids will sit there and taunt their opponent, and the referee, right, or the teacher will get in the way of them getting their ass beat, which is why they don't watch hockey. Because if you chirp in hockey, some bigger dude is going to come over and punch you in the face.
Oh, yeah.
That's why kids today aren't playing hockey. I mean, obviously, hockey's very expensive on top of it. But in baseball, the consequence of you sitting there talking shit is you getting a baseball in the ribs. Not the umpire separating you. You're getting a baseball in the ribs hard. Yep. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to go fight the kid? You didn't want to fight in the first place.
Right.
So
pitcher has the high ground.
As far as kids today don't like baseball simply because it doesn't cater to the things they like. Talking shit with zero consequence, and it doesn't have enough offense going on every single inning. So the advent of analytics and sabermetrics, thanks a lot, fucking Oakland Athletics, you ruined baseball, has created an environment where owners, and this is the part where people don't understand it. Analytics does not work. Baseball is one of those sports where I can pick any stat that I want, and prove somebody's good.
Yeah.
You're the best hitter north of the Mason-Dixon line who plays their games on the mainland. Your team wears pinstripes with an interlocking NY. Well, clearly you must be the best hitter on the Yankees, but you're also the best hitter with all those fucking categories. Advanced stats do not work, all right? And everybody will sit there and be like, what are you talking about? Ohtani and Trout and Judge have great advanced stats. They're great players. Great players always have great stats, no matter how you cut it. It's hard to sit there and prove that a great player is bad. But advanced stats weren't created for that. Advanced stats were created. That's 2 goals in like 10 seconds. Advanced stats were created so that the Oakland Athletics, who were dirt poor, could find good qualities in bad players, because those qualities that they were looking for, those advanced stats at the time, were not wanted. So a guy that hit 300 20 years ago, he was worth $12 million a year, which was at the time a lot of money. The Oakland A's didn't have it. So they were sitting there going, all right, I got to get somebody that can get on base just as much as this guy that bats 300. How do I do that? I'll get a guy that walks freaking 40% of the time. That's comparable. That's comparable. And they go, all right, the guy bats 210, but he gets on base 35% of the time. That's the same thing, right? It is, but it's not, because it's fucking boring. So what happened was the Oakland A's did this, and they were winning games against their shitty division for about 3 years, 4 years. Mind you, they had about 4 or 5 players that were drafted and signed through traditional methods. They right. hit all the marks, right? With Mark Mulder, Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Tejada, Miguel Tejada, Eric Chavez, Ramon Hernandez. These guys were traditionally good players.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about them. They talk about Scott fucking Hatteberg and Chad Bradford. Like they were the fucking truth. So now all the owners are watching the fucking Oakland A's be successful, right? And quite honestly, everybody says they were competitive. They weren't competitive. They lost to the same team every single year in the playoffs. To me, that's not competition. Every year you lose to the same exact team.
Yep.
In the same location. You didn't even get one fucking round further. You were just better than the rest of the losers in your division. And mind you, that division back then was what the Angels, the Seattle Mariners, who no longer had Griffey or A-Rod or Randy Johnson, and the fucking Rangers, right? The Rangers, the Mariners, the A's, and the Angels. All 4 of those fucking teams weren't that good.
Correct.
So are we really sitting here saying that the A's were really competitive? No, but the other owners saw a poor ass fucking franchise spend $3 million total for their team and win their division, and they thought, I could do that.
See, and you know what? It's
nobody. The league average is 240. Maybe that's why nobody watches.
The problem is at this point in baseball is that all the managers just accept the analytics as the only way to do things. And that's the one reason I am jealous of the New York Mets in having Buck Showalter, because I would love somebody that's a little old school. And it's like, oh, hey, yeah, you draw that up on your computer. Nobody gives you shit.
Well, you know,
I'll bat who I want.
That's Don Mattingly. Don Mattingly said it the other day. He's like, the eye test works. The problem is that I cannot quantify the eye test because an owner doesn't understand the eye test. So baseball viewership is down, right? And it's not because guys are scratching their balls. It really isn't. Them shaving 15 minutes off a game is not going to make somebody who doesn't like baseball watch.
It's because a lot of kids are not playing baseball anymore. When we grew up, you played baseball. You played baseball until like your father's like, all right, you're failing at T-ball. You struck out 6 times. I don't even know how that's possible. We'll try something else, buddy. Everybody played baseball. Kids went outside and played wiffle ball. Dude, we had neighborhood wiffle ball tournaments. And now you never see that shit. You never see kids outside playing roller hockey with their own net and just, a pickup game in the street with their neighbors. You don't see kids playing baseball or wiffle ball or anything like that. There's parks all around my neighborhood and your neighborhood, Nick, since we live so close. How many baseball fields are there? And nobody uses them at all. Like, literally, people won't even walk their dog there because it's like a friggin' a cemetery. Like, it's hallowed ground. Like, oh, don't go on that baseball field. Nobody's been on that field for 15 years.
Well, one thing I used to watch that show, Luke Cage. It was a very good show. And they're having a discussion about baseball. And one of the characters says, baseball is a game passed down from father to son. And we live in a world now where dad works 2 jobs and he's never home. Or mom and dad are divorced, so dad's never home. So who's there to teach the kids to play baseball?
It's not even that either. I mean, it's just like you said, it's not exciting enough. And at this point of entertainment, it's not exciting enough to hold their attention to where they want to do it. Like, I mean, listen, my son's 7 years old, and we're signing him up for baseball again. He's played the last 2 years, 3 years, whatever it's been. And he kind of doesn't really want to do it because he's like, I don't know, it's hot out. You go there for like 3 hours, and it's still 3 hours long, and blah, blah, blah. Because it's just not, they're so trained in playing video games and doing stuff on like iPads and stuff like that. It's not fast enough. It's not enough action.
That's what it is. It's all the iPads and all that other shit. My nephew doesn't want to play hockey.
That's crazy.
Right? We got him the skates, we got him the sticks, we got him everything. I'm on the ice with him. Remember that day I couldn't walk for like 3 days straight because I hurt my back. I was afraid he was gonna fall, and I'm skating like hunched over at the waist for a friggin' hour and change. That shit hurts. He doesn't want to play hockey. Doesn't want to play hockey.
I should get my son out here right now and let you interview him as to why he doesn't want to play baseball. But Daddy said he is playing baseball, but too bad.
One day
There's rules. You want to live in my house and eat my food, you play baseball.
That's it.
He just yelled no from his room.
But the but the thing that bothers me is this concept that, oh yeah, if you speed up the game, people will watch. The reason they're speeding up the game is because ESPN and Fox Sports doesn't like it when a baseball game runs 3 hours and 10 minutes because Sports Center was on at 10 o'clock. And the guy that doesn't like baseball that turned on to watch Sports Center, as soon as he sees baseball, he's like, I don't know when this game's going to be over, and goes to sleep instead of watching Sports Center. And then furthermore, on top of that, the guy that paid for an advertisement during the baseball game or paid for an advertisement immediately following the baseball game, he now just got a different rate for his ad. So like if I paid for a ad after the game and you're not going to show my ad, then you owe me my money back. Or if I paid for an ad during Sports Center and Sports Center's not on yet, or you only make Sports Center 30 minutes, you owe somebody money. Or let's say that game goes fucking 8 hours, because it's possible. There is no definitive end to a baseball game.
Correct.
Then guess what? You're going to give me a primetime fucking advertisement for the 2 a.m. fucking price. And that's why they did it. Is ESPN and Fox Sports didn't want to show their games. That's what it came down to. Had nothing to do with the fans, had nothing to do with attracting new fans, had nothing to do with the game. It had to do with ESPN and Fox News and fucking ABC and CBS and whoever else is a nationally televised event that carries the sport. It's all it had to do with anything.
You know, too, I think about this a lot, and how many times have we met up and with a bunch of our friends? We've gone out to see Rangers games at a bar. We've gone to see Jets games at a bar. Very rarely do we watch a baseball game at a bar. It's one of those things where it's just that like
common.
But I mean, I guess during the beautiful, who's that?
I can't tell. It's a white guy.
Is it Trocheck?
It was 91. Tarasenko.
Tarasenko. But I think we never schedule around like, all right, Jets play 1 day a week for 17 weeks. Rangers play 82 games a year. Baseball is one of those things when the spring and summer roll around, it's like, hey, you want to meet me at Chili's? I'm sure there's a baseball game on. Whatever game it has to be on.
I love it.
Right. 100%. But what I'm saying is like the season being 162 games, it's a little cumbersome in the beginning because the first 50 games don't mean shit. Unless you go own 50 or 50-0, it doesn't mean crap. Let's call it what it is. It doesn't get entertaining, and it doesn't hold my attention where I have to watch every game until the All-Star break or maybe even 2 weeks after that.
It doesn't mean anything anymore because they let everybody and their mother make the playoffs.
That too.
Once upon a time, only 2 teams made the playoffs, and they played in the World Series, and that was it. But again, because of money.
That senator just checked the ref because he saw the puck coming and he saw a pair of skates and just he bodied him into the boards, not realizing it was the ref. That was awesome.
But yeah, so the reason I don't like, and people go, oh, you're old school, you don't like modern stats. I know what the modern stats do. They make it possible for guys like Joey Gallo to play baseball professionally, and he bats fucking 210 for his career.
Right.
And he still got a job. And people still talk about him starting.
Hit from behind. That's not a penalty? Oh, it is. All right. Arms up. Score.
So the killer for me is it sets a precedent. Like we talked about it before in our group chat. I'm not a big Second Amendment guy. I'm in the Army, and I think the civilians are stupid and shouldn't have guns. But I would never have them get away with taking away the Second Amendment for this mere fact that that puts everything on the table. Oh, you changed one of the Bill of Rights, then that means you could take away my freedom of speech tomorrow because it's been set that you took away one, so all of them are now free game. And once they started making by the way, the Ghost Runner is another example of why they want the game to end abruptly. It has nothing to do with whether or not the teams can manage the team the next day with enough pitchers. It has nothing to do with whether or not somebody's healthy. It has everything to do with the network not wanting the game on for 18 hours because a baseball game has no definitive end. If a game went 28 innings, it'd be on for like a day and a half.
Right.
And there's nothing to stop it. Right. So, because they could have resolved the whole pitching problem, let players re-enter the game. And then when the game's fucking 20 innings long, fuck it. Let the game if the game goes in extra innings, say you could bring up another pitcher to the next day. They could have done that, but they didn't do that. They created this bullshit Ghost Runner nonsense where they're going to charge an earned run to a guy who didn't even let the guy get on base simply because the networks didn't want the game going longer than 3 hours. But mind you, football games are 3 hours long and nobody says a fucking word. Football games are 3 hours. If you really counted the amount of time with stoppages, and when I say stoppages, I mean legitimate stoppages, okay? For football, the game would be an hour and 45 minutes. But somehow it's 3 hours because of a 15-minute break in the middle of the game for no fucking reason, right? And every time they score a touchdown after the PAT, the players just stand on the field and stare at each other. The only difference is you're not watching it because they went to commercial. So you got up and went and got another beer. That's the only difference. Go to a live football game. They stand around and look at each other a lot. So to sit there and say, oh, this guy playing with his fucking batting gloves and scratching his balls, that's ridiculous. The entire football team standing on the goal line waiting to kick off is just as ridiculous. So why isn't anybody complaining that? Because I've never heard anybody that watches baseball sit there and go, God, this game's too fucking long. The only people I've ever heard complain about that are the media. People in the media have complained the game is too long for a few years now. They're the only people I've ever heard it. You know why? Because they have to work. If you told me I could leave work after 2.5 hours, I'd be all for it too.
Listen, that's not true, okay? Because everybody knows once the game goes into extra innings and they're not serving beer anymore, everybody's like, this game is too long. This is bullshit. I haven't had a beer in 4 innings.
Oh, let's talk about beer. So now the game's over in 2 hours and 20 minutes. You think beers are still going to cost $12 at Yankee Stadium? No, they're going to cost $20 because now you can only drink one.
Right.
So be prepared for that. Be prepared for that, guys.
The one thing that, before we get off the subject, the one thing that irks me is all these people defending the pitch clock, saying that it's spring training, it's never going to affect the regular season. Until it does, because when a playoff game that means something ends because somebody's out with bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, and it took too long to get into the box, and they end the game on that, how does that help the sport? Because I'll tell you right now, if that happens in Boston, if that happens in Baltimore, if that happens in Philadelphia, if that happens in New York, if that happens in even Seattle, there's going to be riots. Shit's going to get burned down. Martial law is going to get called in. People on horses, tasering. It's going to be mayhem. Mayhem if you allow a team to lose like that, bottom of the ninth, game 7 of a series. And, you took too long in the box. Oh, you fixed your glove too long. Strike 3, you're out.
Yeah.
Do it. Because you can't not do it. You cannot set a precedent in the regular season or spring training, and then because it's playoffs, no, we're not going to do it. Because that makes no sense. That's like saying, well, we're going to bring back the neighborhood rule for the playoffs. No, you said there's no more neighborhood rule because everything is video replay. You can't bring shit back.
I just think that this whole pitch clock thing just sets a bad precedent for the game where now the networks are going to decide a lot what we can do. And mark my words, you will see tie games in the future. There will be, one of the greatest things to me about baseball was that it was so American because we always had a fucking loser. Yeah. Now, I mean, I get it. America is getting to the point where everybody gets a trophy, but baseball never had a tie game other than that one All-Star game. And honestly, like, who gives a fuck? Like, it was the All-Star game. It's an exhibition. It doesn't matter. It's like spring training. Who cares if somebody wins or not? Right?
It's funny. I feel like baseball, out of every other sport, baseball is just like a progression of one generation telling the next generation, you ruined the game. I mean, how many people from the generation of there was never a night game said like baseball is supposed to be played during the day? It's unnaturally played at night underneath the lights. You're ruining the game. Like it just went downhill from there. Like it seems like there's always something to gripe about, but we've degraded so far into completely changing the essence of the game. It's not baseball anymore.
I just want to point out that it usually starts with the minor leagues. I'll tell you that right now. People that sit there and say, the designated hitter is awful and it shouldn't have been implemented, you can blame all the National League teams for allowing their minor league counterparts to have a designated hitter. Because now you've got a kid that pitched in high school and he pitched in college, and he gets to the minor leagues and he's playing professional baseball, but the minor leagues doesn't have the pitcher bat ever because their arm is too valuable. Can't have the guy get hurt in the minors that now when he gets to the show, he can't pitch. He'll never get to the show. He'll get hit by a pitch. That'll be the end of his career. So now the kid pitches in the minors for 3 or 4 seasons, right? Gets to the show. He hasn't batted potentially since high school because college baseball says there must be a DH. It can be the pitcher, but then at that point, he's playing 2 different positions. He's batting as the DH and he's pitching as the pitcher. Once he leaves the game as the pitcher, he's now just the DH. Right. That's how college works. So now this guy gets to the majors. He's 23 years old. He hasn't hit since he's 17. Oh, go take your hacks up there against Verlander. Go take your hacks up there against DeGrom. And you're expecting the guy to be able to be successful? So now those guys can't hit worth a goddamn. We're watching the game going, God, it's boring watching this man bat in a jacket because he's wearing his fucking windbreaker warm-up while he bats or while he's on second base. And you're sitting there going, this is fucking boring. And that's why the designated hitter exists, all right? It started in the 70s because they wanted to keep aging sluggers around, which, you know what, is not necessarily a bad idea. You got somebody like Babe Ruth. You want him to retire with the Yankees, not the fucking Boston Braves.
That's a fact.
I'm just saying he couldn't play the field anymore, but the man could still bop. You know, by today's standards, he'd be MVP for the last year that he played in the league because he damn sure didn't
easily
like fucking Joey Gallo.
No.
But point being is that I'm not with these rules that they're changing because they're putting it under the guise of we're doing it to attract more fans, and the long and short of it is they're not. Now
you're pushing fans out.
The no shift rule I'm okay with only because again owners have created an environment where laying one down the other way to get a base hit is absolutely possible, but you batting 300 will not make you nearly as much money as hitting 40 home runs and batting 210. It's not the player's fault. The owners are paying for the wrong statistics. They're paying for the statistics that the mathematician who got kicked off his T-ball team, he's telling him that will create wins. When in actuality, it's a fucking lie. The only reason that it looks like it's working is because everybody's doing it. It would be like if everybody decided to play on one fucking leg and you're like, see, it's working. No, it's not. You're all just stupid collectively. You're driving fans away because of 3 true outcomes created by analytics. I mean, I saw somebody the other day say, oh, Nolan Ryan sucked. He was a compiler. A compiler, the only thing he fucking compiled was 7 no-hitters. At 40-something years old. Get the fuck out of here.
You know what? That's one thing that analytics and stats pisses me off about is because people will justify horrendous statements like that.
Didn't we get into an argument with somebody saying that Pete Rose wasn't a good hitter?
Yes, we did. Only the greatest the greatest hitter. But what, he compiled the most hits ever, and that's why he's the greatest hitter ever?
Some people would argue, well, Ichiro is a better hitter. Ichiro didn't bat switch.
Nope.
Ichiro did not bat switch. I'm sorry. Those fucking 80,000 hits he got in Japan and quadruple A don't fucking count. I'm sorry. I'll tell you. You're right. He had a great run in America. A lot of respect and adoration for Ichiro Suzuki. He had a great fucking career. Put him in the Hall of Fame. Put him in the Hall. I love Ichiro. Same. All right. But that whole concept of, oh, he had a billion hits in fucking Japan. I couldn't give a fuck less. Matter. It's like crashing in the fucking home run record for minor league baseball. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
And now,
dude, Othman right now in the Rangers minor system has like 80 goals in 2 years. Should we count them towards his? Oh, he's the next Gretzky. Let's add him up.
Now it's the Negro Leagues is the new thing. I'm not going to talk badly about the Negro Leagues, but now they're like, oh, these guys were better than them. Black people weren't allowed to play, and therefore their statistics don't count. And I'm like, are you kidding me? They're like, you guys are like 18% of the population. You're saying your 18% of the population was better than everybody else? Like total? I mean, if you want to say you had 18% of the population, then 18% of the league would have been just as good. I'm all right with that. and 5% would have been better than everybody else. I'm okay with that. But to sit there and say that everybody in the Negro Leagues was better than everybody in Major League Baseball is absolutely ludicrous. It's just ridiculous. It's just as stupid as people sitting there going, "Oh, they were playing against plumbers and farmers and roofers." Get the fuck get out of here. You wouldn't be fucking knowing about Major League Baseball if it wasn't for those guys that were playing against plumbers and fucking roofers, as far as you're concerned.
The funniest thing, I mean, I know we're going off on a tangent, but I was watching this feminist woman argue with somebody who's just like in the business world trying to explain, like, yeah, the wage gap, the way you're presenting it doesn't make sense. And she's like, how doesn't it make sense? And he told her straight out, he goes, because if I could pay you 80 cents on the dollar, if that was a true statement, I could pay you 80 cents on the dollar to do the exact same job I was paying a man. He goes, I'd have a company full of women and I'd save about $1 billion a year.
That's a fact.
I was like, holy shit. That's why that guy's the head of a company, because he's right. Wait, you'll take 80 cents on the dollar? Hire them all.
So the wage gap that they talk about is based on your education level. The difference is that a man that has a master's degree is an electric engineer, and a woman that has a master's degree is a third grade teacher.
Based on a census of people.
I mean, that's statistics. I mean, it's. I'm not saying there are no engineers that are women. I'm just saying is that there are shit. I went to public school. I only had like 5 male teachers my whole life. I went to public school for freaking 12 years, 13 years actually, because I went to pre-K too. And my 3 teachers in pre-K were women as well. I didn't have a male I had one male teacher when I was in elementary school, and he died halfway through the semester.
I just realized I didn't have a male teacher until high school. Holy shit. I never even that never even occurred to me. Wow. That's crazy.
But that's where the wage gap comes from. But I'm done with talking about baseball. What bothers me is just fucking idiots sitting there thinking they did it for them. Like, you're an idiot. I bet you think strippers like you too.
That just blew my mind. Weird.
My 4th grade teacher was a man. He died like halfway through the year. Mr. Steinberg.
Yeah, because he couldn't unleash hell on you kids. Give you a boot in the ass.
He got stomach cancer, which actually, he probably like held something in, like all the rage. And
poor guy.
And then who took over? Mrs. Brown took over for Mr. Steinberg, and she took over for Mr. Steinberg, and she became the rest. Like for the other half of 4th grade, she was my teacher. And then my gym teacher was always a man, always.
Yeah, no, even in high school, my gym teacher was a woman.
That's weird.
No, what was weird was when she would come into the locker room of an all boys high school and be like, I got to give somebody a locker. I'm not looking. Don't worry. It's like, pretty sure you're looking. That was weird. That shit will get you canceled now. Then again, I went to Catholic all boys high school. So, I mean, I'd rather a woman come into the locker room than a priest, but I digress.
So moving on from baseball and its horrendous decision to put its future on the line. Again, we'll see tie games in the near future. They'll go to fucking 3 balls and 2 strikes in the near future, and the whole fucking record book will be fucked. I think the record book right now is fucked because of this ghost runner bullshit where you're attributing a run scored to a person that didn't allow that person on base.
The record book was fucked the second they allowed Houston to actually have that championship, that World Series. There should be an asterisk next to it because they fucking cheated the entire time. And I know we went down this, and I don't want to go down the rabbit hole again, but you want to keep record books and make baseball a pure sport, right? That's why we got to get rid of steroids. You could take all the steroids in the world. If you're a halfway decent hitter and you know a fucking fastball or a breaking pitch is coming, you're going to hit it better and more solid than if you take steroids for the next 30 fucking years. But whatever. True. Yeah, and so the baseball is done with the whole statistics and asterisk and keeping records and keeping the sport pure. You're fucking out. It's over. You muddied that water.
It's over, baby.
But moving on.
What's that?
I said, but moving on. We're going down a rabbit hole. We're just getting angry, and I'm going to end up like going outside and punching my neighbor for letting his dog piss on my lawn.
What is this, me, myself, and Irene?
Possibly.
Moving forward, in NBA news, very quickly, the New York Knickerbockers look great.
I said if there was ever a year with what's going on to have a 94 situation where both teams are making playoff runs, it would just be absolutely epic.
Jalen Brunson was wearing a Patty Kane jersey last night. Knicks beat the Nets last night, and I saw a Nets fan who was really salty about it because Knicks fans were happy they beat the Nets for a change, the first time in like 7 years. And he was like, "Oh, their little brother, little brother." I'm like, first of all, the New York Knickerbockers could never be little brother. I'm not really a basketball fan. I don't follow basketball, but I know that Madison Square Garden is the mecca of basketball. New York City is the mecca of basketball, and the New York Knicks play in the mecca. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that basketball was invented in New York City, but I like to think of it like Christianity. Like Christianity was founded in Israel, but the headquarters for Catholicism is in fucking Rome. So like the Vatican is the spot you go visit. You don't go visiting Israel. Other people got shit there. Like
a lot of angry people over there, one way or the other.
So Madison Square Garden is a spot, so much so that a park where anyone can go to, Rucker Park, has now also become synonymous with basketball greatness. I couldn't tell you like another arena in fucking basketball, but I know Rucker Park exists. I forget what the one in Brooklyn's called. I think it's named after a golf course or something.
I don't know.
Isn't Barclays a golf course?
Barclays is a bank. They sponsored golf.
I've never seen a Barclays bank in my life. I've seen TD. I've seen Chase.
It must be one of those rich people bank, like we don't get to go to.
I guess so. It's one of those Cayman Island banks. Point being is that the Nets are closer to moving back to New Jersey than they are to being big brother over the New York Knicks.
Any team that came from New Jersey to New York and wants to call any other team that's been in New York established little brother, dude, you've been buying the wrong type of crack outside the Barclays Center. Okay, it's obscene.
It's just better.
It is, dude. It is. I mean, you get that 26th Street crack.
I just thought that was ludicrous. I really did. I was like, dude, you're so salty and so little brother that big brother beat on you and was happy about it. And you're just like, how dare you? Like you had fucking KD and fucking Kyrie and fucking Harden, and you still didn't fucking win a goddamn thing. Like, don't talk to me ever again. Like shut the fuck. Like, don't say I'm not a fucking basketball person.
But cannot.
Those three players, basketball is an eye sport. You only need like two good dudes, and you'll win it all.
The funniest thing is that you have Net fans that are like, it's not like we had a super team. What? You didn't? Really? Pretty sure you did. You can't argue with stupid people because you can't win because there's no giving up. Like literally, somebody like that, you could throw them in a pool and be like, I'm not wet right now. It's like, no, yeah. I can see you are. No, I'm not. You're wrong. That's what arguing with these fans are like. It's like, okay, sure. Whatever you think. That's right. That's right. People go, the Garden sells out all the time, even when the Knicks don't win games. They win 1 out of 10 games. And yet the Garden sells out and the tickets are $300-$400 a seat. But yeah, everybody's going to the Barclays Center to go see the Nets play.
So, in other news for basketball, right quick, Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley have decided to shit on Kevin Durant over the last few days.
Saw that.
So Charles Barkley basically called Kevin Durant an overpaid bum. That was basically what he said. I mean, that is what he said. He called him an overpaid bum. And I guess what they're bringing about is basically that Kevin Durant has gone from super team to super team trying to win a championship, and he can't hold his own jock. At which point, I guess I don't know why, but Kevin Durant and Shaq have been having a back and forth on social media, on Twitter, to the point where Shaq didn't know a certain player, the player being Rui Hachimura. And Shaq said, if you're not a top 10 player, I don't know who you are. I'm not watching the Bullets or the Wizards.
Obviously being the same team, actually. And then, Kevin Durant coming out saying, oh, well, he doesn't know ball. And Shaq goes, I don't know ball, but I know how to brush my hair or decide to cut it when I'm going bald.
Shit.
Yeah, it got real personal real fast. It got to the point where Charles was kind of saying if you can't do it without creating a super team, then you ain't all that.
Not for nothing. Does KD realize that Shaq hasn't played basketball for what, like 12 years now?
Yeah,
and he can't walk down the street without everybody knowing his name in not just this country. Pretty sure Kevin Durant could probably walk around most places and not even get bothered with, unless he's, in New York City or LA or something like that, some high profile town where people like Shaq could be in the middle of Oklahoma and some dude crop dust in the field to land that plane and be like, holy shit, Shaq.
Weren't you Steel? You fucking Kazam.
Oh shit!
But Kevin Durant came back, and after the commentary from both Charles Barkley and so the comment from Charles Barkley was that Kevin Durant just gets on the bus. He's a bus rider as opposed to a bus driver.
Right.
He's trying to hop on a team and let them carry him to a championship. So they asked Kevin Durant how he felt about that today, and he said most definitely, because at this point they're saying go play with Scoot Henderson and win a championship, and then we'll give you credit. I don't need no credit from y'all, no credit from Barkley, no credit from Shaq. Y'all don't ever have to watch me play ever again. Don't talk about me if you don't rock with me. And I'm paraphrasing, mind you. I'm not going to stop doing what I do. Everybody has their opinions, man. I'm not going to stop me and how I approach the game. I'm going to be honest with you. I felt that way about LeBron for years. Because look at LeBron without his super teams, hasn't made a fucking final.
100%. On top of the fact that he's a big bitch. I would say that to his face. He's a big bitch.
I hated fucking Jordan when he played because I'm from New York and he was with the Bulls killing the Knicks every fucking year. And back in those days, we did have half decent teams, and we could have done something with Ewing and Starks and fucking Spreewell for years. We had a lot of guys, and not necessarily all at the same time, but we had LJ, we had Oakley. We had a lot of good guys. Chris Childs, we had Charlie Ward. We had a lot of good guys. I'm not saying great guys. I mean, one or two Hall of Famers here and there, but we had a lot of good guys. Obviously, not better than Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman.
But the funny thing is, I would never sit here and talk shit about Jordan as a fan of the Knicks. Because why? Because he was a fucking stud, and it was undeniable.
Not only was he a stud, he did it on his team.
Yes.
He didn't go, oh, fuck, I don't want to play with these guys. I got to go find a better team to go play with so I can go win. But that's what LeBron did, and that's what KD did, and that's what a lot of guys did. And I have very little respect for a person that gets drafted and immediately starts calling up his friends, going, bro, let's go find a team to play for.
Right.
Like, I have very little respect for that. Play with the team you got, not the team you want. And the All-Star game in the NBA was exemplary of what the NBA has become, where guys go to the All-Star game and they're just plotting their next super team. They're not sitting there trying to play. They're friends. They're all friends. Fucking the Bulls back in the day weren't friends with the Knicks.
Not at all.
It was fucking violent. This shit was dangerous.
You had what's his name? Friggin' from the Pacers threatening Spike Lee right on the side of the court. Reggie Miller. They weren't friends.
Shit was bad. Nobody ever sat there and said, oh, Reggie Miller might be a Knick. Let me be nice to him. Let me try to bribe Reggie Miller to come over to the Knicks. Man, Reggie Miller was a great player, but fuck Reggie Miller. I'm from New York.
Yeah. No, you're sitting there like, I hope fucking Ewing accidentally elbows Reggie Miller in the fucking dome.
Yep, pretty much.
And that shit happened then. Elbows were thrown hard. People didn't go down like I stubbed my toe. Wah.
The carries in the league. I'm not going to go on a tangent on the NBA.
Yeah.
But I will say that I agree with KD. I agree with Shaq. Kevin Durant's just looking for a championship for somebody else to win him. If he would have stayed with Oklahoma City for his entirety of his career and gotten the bag, gotten paid, and never won a championship, I would have had a lot more respect for him than a person that goes from team to team chasing championships. I don't find any that's not admirable to me.
Not at all.
That's impish. Moving forward, talk to me about Live Golf, TJ. I want to know about Live Golf and tell me about the struggle.
I want to know what live is. So, there is no struggle right now. The only struggle is for people like Brandel Chambly sitting there trying to make a case for after shitting on the format of Live, right? Shitting on the players that went there. Shitting on where the money comes from as if the PGA Tour, all the money came from donations and bake sales, right? Now having to sit there and defend why, like, the PGA Tour made changes. No, it had nothing to do with Live Golf. It's just time to, make adjustments. And no. You weren't saying that last year when Live came up with this format. You weren't saying that last year when Liv said we're not going to have cuts. You were shitting on it, saying, how are you not going to have any cuts? So essentially, it's just a bunch of dudes standing around playing fucking golf on TV, and most of it doesn't matter. And now the PGA Tour is trying to take pages out of Liv's handbook and do exactly what Liv is doing, word for word, just copying. Just get the scanner out, not even highlighting. They're too lazy for it. Okay. But at the same time, this all could have been avoided if Moynihan, however you say his name, would have just worked with Greg Norman and got this together. But nope, the PGA Tour at the end of the day, and they put out the campaign of, it's Saudi-backed money and blah, 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 blah. They did it on purpose to try to blackball them because they want a monopoly on golf and golfers. Golfers have zero rights in the PGA Tour. They do not get to have their own footage of them playing golf because the PGA Tour owns it. They're not allowed to do anything without the PGA Tour's approval. Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods had to pay the PGA Tour to have the first match. They had to pay them to be allowed to play the match that the PGA Tour didn't put one penny into. They had to pay them millions of dollars to be allowed to play golf against each other. The PGA Tour wants to keep the monopoly, and all these PGA Tour shills that'll sit there and abuse Live Golf. You're not a real fan. You're a clown. Okay. Live Golf has literally 15 to 20 of the top 50 golfers in the world playing for them right now. Okay. It's entertaining. It's high level golf. And you're going to sit there and say you're a fan of watching golf, but then shit on Live. You're out of your mind. You're a liar. I can't take you seriously. You're just a shill for the PGA Tour. You're brainwashed. You're a sheep. You're listening to what the PGA Tour says and what the Golf Channel says and just shitting on Live because that's what you think the thing to do is. But guess what? Guess where I forget, there's two countries, one's in Europe, one's in South America. There's two countries that guess what the contract deal was for Live in those countries. That's right, the Golf Channel. The Golf Channel. Live is so bad. But yet the Golf Channel, which is 99% PGA Tour, right, is now airing them outside the U.S.
I feel like if you're going to sit there and monopolize it as the Golf Channel and you're not going to show Live Golf, then change your name. You're not the Golf Channel anymore. You're the PGA Channel.
Yeah.
It's that simple to me. It's kind of like when ESPN starts showing the fucking spelling bee. I'm like, you're not ESPN anymore.
I don't understand how you don't enjoy watching more of the same sport. And I'm a fan of golf. And golf is one of those sports where a lot of other sports don't have this. I will sit there and watch the LPGA Tour because they put out a great product. The women golfers are tremendous. And it's a situation where I play the sport of golf. And whether you're a guy or a girl, and given women are not out driving the men, it's just not happening. They drive the ball an average of, I want to say, about 50 yards shorter. No, it's comparable because the level of play is still through the roof. Okay. And it wouldn't matter if I could drive the ball 320 down the middle every time, they're still going to beat me by 18 strokes in 18 holes.
I feel like the PGA Tour, if you wanted to compare it to the WNBA, if the WNBA lowered the net, it would be comparable to the PGA Tour.
Not even that though, dude, because you know what? It's the women have to do the exact same thing. They have to make putts. They have to make chips. So they just don't. It's just they literally say, all right, well, you don't drive the ball 330, and we tiger-proofed every golf course, so we're not going to make you play from the tips. We're going to make you play from which would be our standard men's tee. So a par 4 would be like 400 yards instead of friggin' 480 yards when you're playing the U.S. Open. All of a sudden, it's par 5 distance, and it's like, yep, that's a par 4.
But that's what I'm saying. I was like, the WNBA, if you lower the rim, that's comparable. I mean, the ball is already smaller in the WNBA.
Right.
To account for the fact they have physically smaller hands than men do.
Right.
So if you made it so that the rim was lower, I don't know. And forgive me.
I would say maybe bring the 3-point line in like a lot more.
That too. I don't think they need help with the WNBA doesn't need help with the 3-point line.
I think they do because if you watch the scores of the WNBA game, it's like a 36-40. It's like, really?
But that's more because there's no post game. There's there's nothing
down to the boards
because you can't go down to the boards because it's still 10 feet in the fucking air. I think. I don't know. Again, WNBA fans, forgive me if I'm wrong and the net is actually lower to the ground, but I'm fairly certain it's still 10 feet because when I was in high school, they didn't lower the fucking hoops for the women.
Yeah, no, it's not.
But the ball is smaller and whatnot. I don't see why the WNBA couldn't keep up.
Broussard scored another goal.
Yeah,
you gotta be shitting me.
Yeah, 3-3. But you're right. The LPGA and PGA, and I like to live. Listen, I don't like golf, but I had a good time when I went to live because of the accessibility that I had to the players. Like being that close to fucking Phil Mickelson, close enough that he gives me a hard time. Fucking, I'll tell my grandkids about that. They're one of the greatest golfers in the history of the fucking sport. And I say that very loosely. Sport, that is, because it's not really a sport. You don't break up a sweat when you do it. But anyway.
Yeah, you do if it's hot out.
Unless you're drinking heavily.
Listen, I mean, the access we had, I mean, everybody that walked up to those tees.
I wish I had a video of him giving me a hard time, but my phone overheated.
Bro, I mean, we had Abraham Answer right in front of us, bullshitted with him. We were talking to people's caddies. Who was it that my follower was talking to? Jason Kokrak. Jason Kokrak was walking past us. My father goes, "Hey man, thanks for coming out today." And he literally turned around, looked my father in the face, and goes, "That's the nicest thing anybody said to me all week."
I was there.
Yeah,
he had the pants on.
Yeah,
it looked like a picnic table.
No, that was Ian Poulter.
My apologies.
Ian Poulter had that. But just the access to the players and everybody was there having a good time, and I thought it was awesome.
Gilmore, it really was.
Yeah,
where everybody's just drunk, screaming things, and they're like, "Yeah," and everybody was happy instead of being shooter. Everybody was happy.
It definitely wasn't the stuffy stuff shirt, dodgy old guy, like cranky and miserable and country clubs.
Was that fucking what's it called? Got sick. Chain smokers got sick.
Yeah,
that's only that sucked. But they brought Wyclef in, so can I be that free fucking? You're not gonna be happy. Uh-oh. But you got anything else for us in hockey?
Oh, son of a bitch! No, that's it. And my father's texting me pictures of Phil Mickelson.
Yeah, he is. Why has he got so many pictures of Phil Mickelson from behind?
I mean, that's a good man to get a picture of from behind.
I know. I'm getting the same pictures, pal. But I think that's all for the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. We kept it a little short today. I'm proud of us. We did a pretty good job, even though I went on a sick rant about baseball and how they're allowing Rob Manfred and ESPN to ruin the game. But whatever, it is what it is. The people that love the pitch clock will really be feeling it when we have tie fucking ball games and they make it only 7 innings because the game's too long for fucking commercials. We'll see where we end up come the season. I guarantee you games are shortened by about 10.5 minutes. And it does absolutely fucking nothing. But enjoy the future changes that'll come. From all of us here at Scoreboard Addicts Podcast, I'm Nick. With me, as always, is TJ, who is hammered. And we'll catch you again next week.